All right, let's cross now live to Washington. We're joined by our U.S. correspondent, Kate Fisher. Kate, what is coming out of authoritative voices in Washington tonight?
Yes, certainly big celebrations for the White House. They see the opening of the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem as yet another example, they say, of Donald Trump fulfilling the promises he made on the campaign trail in his bid to become president. This was one of the things he promised. And Jared Kushner, his son-in-law and special advisor who was at that ceremony in Jerusalem today, during the speech that he gave, he said, this proves that Donald Trump keeps the promises that he makes. So from that point of view, the White House seeing this as a great day, hailing it as such. It will, of course, appeal to those base voters of Mr. Trump, his voting base. They will agree with this and be glad that he's keeping that promise. Those evangelical Christians, particularly, really pleased that this has happened. So, yeah, a lot of celebration in the White House, but not everybody in the US thinks this is the right way to deal with the situation in the Middle East, or the right way to try to broker peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
Well, is the White House talking at all about the more than 50 people killed?
We haven't, just as we're expecting to hear from the press secretary to the president a little bit later this afternoon here in the US. We haven't had that briefing yet. I'm sure it will come up probably as the first question from reporters in the room, but we haven't had anything official from the White House as yet as to a reaction on those deaths. And we have here in the US certainly been watching the news channels who kind of had a split screen. On the one hand, they've had this ceremony full of pomp and circumstance and, you know, great speeches and flag waving. And on the other part of the screen, there have been the scenes from Gaza of tear gas and people rioting and explosions and so on. So there's been a real juxtaposition there of the coverage about, on one hand, there's a celebration going on and just close by, there are all these protests taking place where as we now know, 52 people have died and, you know, almost 2,000 more have been seriously injured.
And this is all about the U.S. Embassy being situated in Jerusalem. It's not open to the public. Just explain exactly what happened today in terms of where it's situated and what's happening around that building.
Well, it's actually not a new building. It's currently housing the consulate of the United States. So it's already a working US government building. It's just the symbolism that instead of the official embassy being in Tel Aviv, it is now in Jerusalem. And a lot of commentators making the point that actually already the US ambassador to Israel spends quite a lot of his time in Jerusalem doing some of his work there. The difference being now he will no longer be working out of his hotel room, but he will have an official office because it will be the official embassy. However, it is too small in reality to house the full embassy. So they are looking, the Americans are looking for an area in Jerusalem that they can use as the site for a new building to house that embassy. But it could take, you know, up to 5 to 10 years for all of that to happen. And it will cost a lot of money as well. So there is all of that to get through before it can be built. So this is what was the consulate. It is now the embassy. The plaque has been unveiled. The ambassador will now work out of there. But in terms of an actual full building where all the members of staff can move to Jerusalem, that is some way off as yet.
All right, thank you very much. Live from Washington, D.C., Kate Fisher.